If you feel like you're doing everything right, eating clean, taking supplements, trying to lower stress, but you're still dealing with inflammation, fatigue, or brain fog, there may be one piece of the puzzle nobody has really explained well, and that's glycine. As a registered nurse and as someone who has personally walked through thyroid and autoimmune issues, I know how frustrating it is when you're putting in the effort and still not feeling better. In this video, I'm going to break down why glycine may matter more than you think and how it may support the body behind the scenes, and one common mistake that could be keeping a lot of women stuck. And I want you to stay with me because in a few minutes, I'm going to explain why I don't think glycine should be treated like another trendy miracle supplement, even though I do think it may be one of the most overlooked pieces in the inflammation conversation. Welcome. If you're new here, my name is Julie. I'm a registered nurse and I help women with autoimmune fatigue find real solutions to their issues, regain energy, and reduce flares using integrative nurse-led strategies. If you've been told your labs are normal, but you still feel exhausted, inflamed, and not like yourself, you're in the right place. And please make sure you subscribe below. And if this video helps connect some of the dots for you, tap like so I know to make more content like this. Now let's talk about why this matters. Because if glycine is a missing building block for things like recovery, sleep, gut support, and antioxidant production, then the issue may not be that your body is failing you. The issue may be that your body has not had what it needs to recover well. And that's a very different conversation. If you are eating clean but still waking up puffy, foggy, and exhausted, if you're taking supplements but still crashing by mid-afternoon, if you're trying to lower inflammation but still dealing with constipation, bloating, poor sleep, anxiety, or feeling wired at night, if you're doing all the right things, but your body still feels inflamed, this video is for you. Because I think a lot of women in this space have been taught to focus almost entirely on what to remove. Remove gluten, dairy, sugar, stress, toxins, and inflammatory foods. And listen, these things absolutely matter. But what often gets missed is this. Healing is not only about what you remove, it is also about what your body is missing. That's where glycine becomes so interesting because glycine is not glamorous. It's not trendy. It's not one of those supplements that gets marked like a miracle, but it's an amino acid your body uses for some very important jobs. And that matters a lot for women whose bodies have been inflamed, burdened, stressed, underslept, undernourished, and stuck in survival mode for years. So here is the better question I want you asking throughout this video. Not, is glycine the cure, but could glycine be one of the missing support pieces my body has needed all along? That is a much smarter question. And to understand that, you first have to understand something I say all the time. Your thyroid is not the whole story. Your labs are not always the whole story. And your symptoms are often the result of a bigger root cause picture. That is exactly how I framed it in my autoimmune energy workbook as well. Not as one isolated thyroid issue, but as a larger burden involving inflammation overload, gut immune dysfunction, blood sugar dysregulation, nervous system dysregulation, and micronutrient depletion. So when we ask whether glycine matters, we have to place it inside that bigger framework. Let's break this down simply. There are 4 reasons I think glycine deserves more attention, and the fourth one may surprise you. Number one, glycine may matter because it helps support the body's recovery systems. One of the reasons glycine comes up in functional and integrative health is because it's used in the body to help build glutathione. And glutathione is one of the body's major antioxidant defenses. Now, I don't want to make this overly technical, but here is why this matters to you. If your body is dealing with chronic inflammation, immune stress, poor sleep, blood sugar instability, toxic burden, or long term depletion, it's doing a lot of repair work behind the scenes. And repair work requires raw materials. It's very hard for the body to rebuild well when it does not have enough building blocks. That's the point. So, if you have been wondering why your body feels like it just can't keep up anymore, why you're exhausted longer than you think you should be, and why every small stressor seems to hit harder than it used to, this is why glycine is worth understanding. Not because it's magic, but because sometimes the body cannot repair optimally without enough support. The second reason glycine may matter because inflammation is not just about triggers, it's also about repair. This is where I think many women get misled. They're they're told inflammation is only about what they ate or what they were exposed to or what they need to remove. And yes, triggers do matter, but inflammation is also about whether the body has what it needs to calm, regulate, and repair. That's a huge difference because a body can be inflamed not only from what is coming in, but also from what it's been missing for years. And this is where I want to give you a pattern interrupt. I don't think the biggest mistake most women make is simply not taking glycine. I think the bigger mistake is expecting one supplement to do the work of an entire healing strategy. That's where women get disappointed. And in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly what that mistake looks like in real life. The third reason glycine matters is because this conversation is really about rebuilding. This is the part that I think hits home for a lot of women over 40 with autoimmune issues, because many women in this audience are not just inflamed, they are depleted. They have been pushing through fatigue, pushing through brain fog, pushing through poor sleep, and pushing through anxiety, pushing through bloating, pushing through feeling dismissed. And after a while, the body starts acting like a body under threat. That's not a character flaw. That is biology. Your body is not broken, it's burdened. And when I look at women with Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue, and other autoimmune diseases, this wired but tired, inflamed, foggy picture, I don't just think, what do they need to eliminate? I also think, what does this body need in order to finally feel safe enough to heal? That question changes everything. And this is where glycine fits into the bigger conversation around tissue support, gut support, nervous system support, sleep support, and recovery support. Again, not as a miracle, as a support. And that distinction matters. Number four, sleep hygiene is where this really gets interesting. Because if you are inflamed and exhausted, but you're not sleeping deeply, it becomes much harder for anything else to improve. And this is one reason glycine gets attention. Some women notice it helps them feel calmer in the evening or sleep more deeply. I see a huge difference when I miss a dose. I wake up more, and the sleep I do get is not good sleep, and I feel more tired the next day. Now, not everyone responds the same way, but let's talk about why this matters to you specifically. Because if you're waking up tired, even after sleeping, if your brain feels foggy by mid morning, if you feel wired at bedtime but drained all day, if your body never really feels settled, then improving the quality of recovery becomes a huge part of the inflammation conversation. And for many women, this is the hidden piece. Not just what they're eating, not just what supplement they're taking, but whether their body is ever truly getting out of survival mode long enough to repair. And if this is you, that's why this is not just a sleep conversation. This is an inflammation conversation, an energy conversation, a nervous system conversation, a healing capacity conversation. Let me make this personal for a second. There was a point in my own journey where I realized that I had gotten so focused on avoiding triggers that I wasn't asking whether my body had enough support to repair. I was watching food, watching symptoms, watching my energy, trying to do everything right. But underneath all of that, my body was not just inflamed, it was depleted. And that shift in perspective changed a ton for me because I stopped seeing my body like it was fighting against me. And I started seeing it as a body asking for help, a body asking for safety, a body asking for nourishment, a body asking for support. That was a huge turning point for me. And that is one reason I care so much about conversations like this. Now, let's get into the most common mistake, because this is where I think a lot of women with Hashimoto's, chronic fatigue, and other autoimmune diseases are really getting stuck. The biggest mistake is not ignoring glycine. The biggest mistake is thinking one supplement can rescue a body that is underfed, overstressed, underslept, inflamed, blood sugar unstable, and stuck in survival mode. That is the mistake. That is why women try something promising and then feel discouraged when it doesn't fix everything. Because the problem was never that the body needed one magic product. The problem was that the body needed a full support framework. And this is exactly why my workbook matters so much to me, because it brings you back to the real drivers: inflammation overload, gut immune dysfunction, blood sugar dysregulation, nervous system dysregulation, and micronutrient depletion. That is where the real work lives. So let's make this practical. If you're hearing this and thinking, okay, Julie, what should I actually take away from this? Here is what I want you to think about. Before asking whether glycine is the answer, ask, am I eating enough protein for this season of life? Am I skipping meals and then wondering why I feel anxious, foggy, and inflamed? Am I using caffeine to prop up energy instead of supporting real energy? Am I under eating because I'm trying to be healthy? Am I sleeping in a way that actually supports recovery? Am I doing anything consistently to calm my nervous system? Am I tracking symptoms closely enough to see what is actually helping and what is actually making things worse? Those questions will get you a lot farther than chasing one miracle fix. That is what real support looks like. And this is where I think a lot of healthy women are still accidentally undernourishing themselves. They're doing coffee before food. They're eating very light all day. They're afraid of carbs. They're under eating protein. They're cutting out more and more foods. They're running on stress hormones. And then they wonder why they still feel puffy, foggy, constipated, inflamed, and exhausted. So, where does glycine fit? In my opinion, glycine fits best as part of a larger rebuilding framework, a framework that supports sleep, nervous system regulation, protein sufficiency, gut support, recovery, and foundational nourishment, not hype, not a shortcut, not a replacement for addressing root causes, a support, possibly meaningful, often overlooked, but still one piece. And honestly, that may be the biggest takeaway from this entire video. Sometimes the issue is not that your body is broken. Sometimes the issue is that your body has been trying to heal with too few raw materials, too much stress, too little recovery, and too little support for too long. That's why women can look like they're doing everything right on paper and still feel awful in real life. So after this video, I don't want your main question to be, should I go buy glycine tonight? I want your question to be, have I been giving my body what it actually needs to recover? That is the better question. That is the more productive question. And that is usually the question that finally starts producing better results. That's actually why I created the Autoimmune Energy Workbook, because the next best step for most women is not more guessing. It is pattern recognition, it's tracking, it's finally seeing what improves my fatigue, what worsens my brain fog, what triggers my flares, what happens when I eat enough protein, what happens when I stop doing caffeine before food, what happens when I support my nervous system every day instead of only when I crash. My workbook includes the 7-day anti inflammatory reset tracker. It includes a daily meal and energy log, a weekly symptom tracker, and a printable lab checklist that goes well beyond basic TSH screening. So if you have not downloaded it yet, please grab your free Autoimmune Energy Workbook in the description. It's there to help you stop spiraling and start seeing your patterns more clearly. And if this video connected some dots for you, please make sure you subscribe and hit the like button below. Because every week, I share root cause evidence informed education for women with Hashimoto's and other autoimmune issues who are ready to stop being dismissed and start understanding what their body has been trying to say. If this video resonated with you, leave me a comment and tell me, have you ever heard glycine explained this way before? Or did this video help you realize that the bigger issue may not be one missing supplement, but a body that needs deeper support? And if you know another woman who's exhausted, inflamed, and doing everything she can to feel better, please send this video to her. She may need this conversation as well. I'll see you in the next one. And remember, we're all in this together.